Long before borders were drawn or history was written, an epic journey began, one that would shape a continent forever. Thousands of years ago, brave souls crossed frozen lands and treacherous seas, stepping into the unknown to become the first peoples of the Americas. But their story doesn't end there. Wars were fought, alliances forged, and lands lost, all under the shadow of an invading force that would change everything. How did Native American tribes rise, adapt, and resist in the face of unimaginable challenges? What secrets lie buried in their unrecorded origins? And how did European contact ignite a firestorm of land disputes that still echo today? This is not just history. This is a saga of survival, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of nations. Buckle up. You're about to uncover the untold story of the first Americans. The unrecorded origin of the tribes of Native Americans is generally traced back to migrations from Asia to the Americas via the Bering Land Bridge, Beringia, that connected Siberia and Alaska during the last ice age. This migration is believed to have occurred between about 30,000 and 12,000 years ago, with some evidence suggesting human presence in the Americas possibly even before 20,000 years ago. Genetic, cultural, and morphological studies support the idea that the first Native Americans descended from populations in Siberia and Mongolia. These early migrants spread throughout North and South America, diversifying into numerous distinct tribes and cultures over thousands of years. The widely accepted model includes at least 3 waves of migration. The first wave gave rise to most Native American groups, followed by later migrations that contributed to groups such as the Nadine and Eskimo Aleut peoples. This migration and subsequent development of tribes formed the foundation for the rich and varied indigenous cultures encountered by Europeans in later centuries. A clear overview about the unrecorded origins of the tribes of Native Americans, blending what's known from oral traditions, archaeology, linguistics, and DNA evidence. Before European contact, Native American tribes had no written records as we define them today. Instead, they preserved their histories through oral traditions, myths, legends, and ceremonies. These oral histories often speak of migrations, creation stories, and ancestral homelands, but they don't align neatly with modern scientific timelines. Theories of the deep origins of Native Americans. 1. Bering Land Bridge Theory. The dominant archaeological theory holds that the ancestors of Native Americans migrated from Siberia to Alaska via the Bering Land Bridge, Beringia, during the last ice age, around 15,000 to 25,000 years ago. From there, they spread south and east, diversifying into many cultures and languages. 2. Multiple migration waves. Newer genetic evidence suggests there were multiple waves of migration into the Americas over thousands of years, not a single group. Some coastal migration theories propose people traveled by boat down the Pacific coast, explaining how tribes like those in South America could appear so early. 3. Oral traditions and mythic origins. Many tribes have their own explanations of their origins that do not mention the Bering Land Bridge. For example, the Hopi and Navajo speak of emergence from underground worlds. The Iroquois tell of Sky Woman falling from the sky world. Pacific Northwest tribes often speak of ancestors transforming from animals or appearing in the landscape. These stories are not literal historical records, but express deep relationships with the land and spiritual beliefs. Why much remains unrecorded. No written language. Except for a few systems like the Cherokee syllabary, which came much later, Native American cultures did not use writing before European arrival. Cultural loss. Colonization, war, disease, and assimilation policies erased huge portions of oral histories and traditional knowledge. Underexplored sites. There are still countless archaeological sites that could reveal more about early tribes, some submerged or hidden in remote areas. The unrecorded origins of Native American tribes reflect a history that lives on through storytelling, landscapes, and living descendants, rather than ancient books or inscriptions. Their true origins are still being pieced together by combining modern science with respect for indigenous knowledge. After the initial migration into the Americas, Native American tribes diversified and settled across various regions, forming major tribal groups distinguished by culture, language, and geography. The major tribes after migration include Southeastern tribes, 5 civilized tribes, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Muskogee, Creek, and Seminole. These tribes originally inhabited areas in present-day Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and surrounding states. They were known for their complex societies and were forcibly relocated westward during the 19th century Trail of Tears to Indian Territory, now Oklahoma. Southwestern tribes, including Pueblo, Mogollon, Hopi, Hohokam, Apache, Navajo, Quechan, Havasupai, Mojave, and Anasazi. These tribes lived in arid canyon regions of New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, developing distinct agricultural and architectural traditions. Great Plains tribes, such as Arapaho, Assiniboine, Blackfoot, Cheyenne, Comanche, Crow, Kiowa, Lakota, Sioux, Pawnee, and others. These tribes were often nomadic, following buffalo herds, and known for horseback riding skills. Many originally migrated from river valleys to the plains for better resources. Northeastern tribes, including Iroquois Confederacy and others, who lived in the woodlands and were involved in agriculture and hunting. The Iroquois were notable for their political confederacy and warfare that caused migrations of other tribes westward. Warfare significantly influenced the migration and territorial shifts of tribes like the Osage and Caddo. The Osage, originally from the Ohio River area, were pushed westward beginning around 1200 CE due to prolonged warfare with the powerful Iroquois nations. In their new Prairie Plains territory, covering parts of present-day Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, the Osage became a dominant warlike force. They engaged in territorial wars, notably against the Caddo, who were originally peaceful and native to the region. The Osage forced the Caddo out of some of their lands, expanding their control significantly by the mid-18th century. The Osage's military organization evolved through alliances and conflicts, such as their alliance with the Illinois during the Long War to stop Iroquois expansion, which revolutionized their governance and warfare strategies. Their aggressive expansion included raids as far as Santa Fe and possibly the Pacific coast before 1800. The Caddo, residing in the Piney Woods region, East Texas, southern Arkansas, western Louisiana, and southeastern Oklahoma, were gradually displaced by the Osage's westward push. Although the Caddo maintained sovereignty and adapted to European colonial pressures, warfare and territorial pressure from the Osage forced them to migrate further, eventually into what is now Oklahoma. This displacement was compounded by European colonization, disease, and settler incursions. Later, U.S. government policies exacerbated tensions by relocating tribes like the Cherokee into Osage lands, leading to further conflict and forced Osage removal to Kansas in 1839 to reduce intertribal warfare. Alliances and conflicts played a central role in shaping Native American tribal boundaries over time by influencing territorial control, political power, and migration patterns. Alliances were strategic tools for tribes to protect their lands, secure trade benefits, and gain military support. For example, many tribes allied with European powers, French, English, Spanish, during the 17th and 18th centuries to strengthen their position against rival tribes and colonists. These alliances often helped tribes maintain or expand their territories temporarily by leveraging European military and trade advantages. Conflicts, both intertribal and with colonists, frequently reshaped boundaries. Competition for resources intensified with the fur trade, and access to European firearms made warfare deadlier, leading to territorial expansions or losses. Tribes like the Osage expanded their territory through warfare, displacing others such as the Caddo. Similarly, colonial encroachment and broken treaties forced many tribes to migrate or consolidate, altering traditional boundaries. Political confederacies and coalitions among tribes also influenced territorial control. For example, the Iroquois Confederacy formed a powerful alliance that controlled large areas through diplomacy and warfare, affecting neighboring tribes' lands and movements. European colonization disrupted existing native alliances and created new conflicts, often forcing tribes into shifting allegiances that impacted their territorial claims. While alliances provided short-term benefits, The long-term effect was often loss of land and sovereignty due to colonial expansion and broken agreements. Some Native American alliances were more successful in maintaining land during conflicts due to several key factors: unity and strong leadership. Alliances with cohesive leadership and shared goals, such as Tecumseh's Confederacy during the War of 1812, were more effective. Tecumseh united diverse tribes under a common cause of resisting settler encroachment and reclaiming native lands, providing a strong spiritual and political identity that helped sustain the alliance longer. Strategic European partnerships. Tribes that aligned with powerful European colonial powers, British or French, often gained access to firearms, military support, and trade goods, which strengthened their ability to defend territory. For example, British alliances helped maintain control of western frontier posts and delayed U.S. expansion. Avoiding internal divisions. Tribes that remained united in their alliances were better able to resist land loss. In contrast, tribes divided over whether to support Americans or British often weakened themselves, leading to diminished power and easier territorial dispossession. Diplomatic skill and adaptability. Successful alliances involved savvy diplomacy, balancing relationships between colonial powers and rival tribes to maximize benefits and protect land. The playoff system, where tribes played European powers against each other, helped some maintain sovereignty longer. Limitations and external pressures. Despite these factors, even successful alliances often ultimately failed due to overwhelming settler expansion, broken treaties, disease, and military defeat. The death of key leaders, Tecumseh, or loss in major battles frequently led to alliance collapse and territorial loss. Leadership and diplomacy critically shaped the outcomes of Native American land conflicts by influencing negotiation strategies, conflict resolution, and territorial preservation. Skilled leadership. Enabled effective negotiation, Native leaders trained in diplomacy, such as the Anishinaabe leaders in the Great Lakes region, used eloquence, cultural protocols, and strategic communication to negotiate treaties and alliances that aimed to protect their lands and sovereignty. Their ability to engage thoughtfully with U.S. commissioners helped preserve some degree of autonomy in land, even amid growing pressures. Diplomatic practices minimized violence. Throughout the early republic, diplomacy was preferred over warfare due to the high costs of conflict. Native diplomacy involved rituals, consensus building, and treaty councils that allowed grievances to be aired and relationships negotiated, often preventing violent escalation. This approach helped some tribes maintain land by managing disputes peacefully, rather than through costly warfare. Indigenous diplomatic mechanisms. In other indigenous contexts, such as pre-colonial Bonnie, diplomacy involved unique practices like oath-taking, councils of elders, and blood covenants to manage conflicts internally and externally. These indigenous methods fostered swift conflict resolution and sustained peace, which could be adapted to land disputes. Challenges of external pressures. Despite strong leadership and diplomacy, external factors such as settler expansion, broken treaties, and shifting colonial policies often undermined Native efforts. For example, failure to adhere to traditional consensus protocols sometimes weakened treaty negotiations, leading to significant land loss. Traditional leadership in conflict resolution. Traditional leaders often relied on moral values, mediation, and arbitration to resolve conflicts within and between communities, maintaining social cohesion and reducing land disputes. Cultural beliefs and blood covenants played a profound role in shaping the outcomes of Native land conflicts by reinforcing trust, sealing alliances, and ensuring lasting peace between disputing parties. Blood covenants symbolize the deepest form of commitment and trust in many indigenous cultures, including some Native American and African traditions. Before there were borders, laws, or even maps, Native American tribes ruled the land. But have their stories truly been told? So much is still hidden. The truth about ancient migrations, lost civilizations, and sacred traditions erased by time. When European contact changed everything, there were wars, land seizures, and a brutal fight for survival. So we ask again, has justice been done to the First Nations of this land? Or are there still untold truths waiting to be uncovered? Comment below with your thoughts. We want to hear your voice. And if you're passionate about forgotten history, hidden cultures, and untold stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. More truth, more history, and more stories they never taught us.